Hi everybody, good afternoon. Just a very quick introduction. My name is Chang, and I'll be talking about using iTunes U for teaching and learning. I want to start first of all by explaining why I'm here. It all started about 4 months ago, just before the beginning of term, because I wanted to try using iTunes U. I've wanted to do it for a long while, but I didn't really get down to doing it until I knew that I had to go away 1 week during term time for a conference, and I thought, okay, it has to be e-learning week. So how do I do it via e-learning? Very easy, you just put stuff on Blackboard, right? Can I do it differently? So I said, maybe I can use it for iTunes. I can use iTunes U. So I said, okay, I would want to use it. So I contacted CEL, who at that time coincidentally went down to my AG to showcase a suite of technologies to support teaching and learning. So at that meeting, I got inspired and I asked Pek Mee after that. And then she gave me the links. We started working on it. And within 2 weeks, the course was up. And so I tried using the iTunes U, and now I think as payback time for all the help that I received from CEL, I have to do a sharing. And that's why I'm here.
Must keep paying back.
Which is why curiosity killed the cat. And this is how I feel right now, because I think that somehow in order for you to find new things, you have to poke your head into these dangerous places at times, and I don't know if this is a suitable analogy, but anyway, that's how I want to share it. What is iTunes U? I think most of you probably have some idea what it is, but I want to really examine this question a little deeper. Because my assumption would be most of you will be using iTunes, you'll be using some kind of a course management system, such as Blackboard, or other forms of course content management system, or what we call CMS. So I want to ask ourselves a question: is iTunes U just another CMS, another content management system? Is it really a library where I put materials and stuff on? Or is it much looser? It's just a collection of materials. And very importantly, how sustainable is this platform for hosting materials for teaching and learning? I have a bit of a difficulty myself. When I started using it, I had high hopes for it. So let me say at the outset that I am not completely satisfied with the affordances of the iTunes U, but that doesn't stop us from exploring more and doing it further. Now, why do I say that? Unlike Blackboard, for example, that we're very used to, iTunes U doesn't allow me to customize the structure of learning. I think that probably is something I'm not very comfortable with, because I cannot, for example, put things into smaller folders and folders of subfolders of sorts. It's a very loose collection of things. But having said that, that is probably its strength as well, because that means you give the learner the flexibility of what material to use first. Of course, I'll show you the course that we've created a little later, but just bear in mind what it can and what it can't do, and some of these dissatisfaction that I'm raising now. Of course, if you go to the Apple website, you can see this on the website telling you how wonderful it is. This is like you've never been able to teach them before. It doesn't tell you whether it is teach them well or teach them badly before. And this is essentially their tagline. So I was very cautious when I was developing the materials for iTunes U. For one, I know that it's going to be open to the rest of the world. Everyone's going to see it. So if you think about the investment as a form of reputational capital for NIE, in terms of showcasing what NIE can do to the rest of the world, I could either bring it up or bring it right down, because people from all over the world can see it. So the trend of MIT, Harvard, having a lot of these open courseware materials being put up on various platforms, and some of the universities use iTunes U, I was really cautious about this. Okay, so I had to know what I'm using iTunes U for. And sorry if I'm going to bore you, but I'm going to bring a debate to you. Clark, 1994, talked about media as something that does not influence student learning. And indulge me, media are mere vehicles that deliver instruction but do not influence student achievement any more than a truck that delivers our groceries cause changes in our nutrition. So that means to say you may have a Ferrari delivering your milk, but your milk is still your milk. It doesn't make your milk more nutritious, nor does it make it more satisfying. Maybe it does. The other camp of thought really is in reaction, Cosma wrote that media possesses particular characteristics that make them both more or less suitable for the accomplishment of certain kinds of learning tasks. While you can argue that media does nothing more than provide the delivery mechanism, but the way that the media structures or constrains or organizes the information to you forces a certain way of learning. So to come back to the groceries truck analogy, if you have refrigeration as one of the features of the truck, then the milk will come to you fresher than if it was on the back of a bicycle that was exposed to the sun's light, as the person delivers to your house. So this debate goes on. It's still going on. And what I learned from it, though, is that you can argue for or against this position. Very importantly, though, is to understand what iTunes U can do for you by examining is what we call affordances. Many times when you go into a shopping mall and you look at a door and it's got a long horizontal bar, you intuitively know you're supposed to push it, but you get confused when you have a sign saying pull. Or when you see a vertical bar, you feel like grabbing it, but you see the sign that tells you push. So the affordances that are available in all these technologies must be examined carefully before we move in. Now, I must say at this point in time that it was an experiment using iTunes U that allowed me to realize some of the things that I did were okay, some of the things that I did needs to be improved. And that's what I'm sharing about today. So in terms of that, I asked myself, what can it do that other similar tools cannot? Is it very customizable? I would say that this is what other tools can do too, but it was easy to use for me. It was very easy for me to put my materials together, videos into videos, audio into audio, images into images, and so forth, but not too customizable. So one of the things that I was not too happy about. It is multimodal. It allows multi-modes of representation. It allows you to annotate even the modes of representation, such as the videos. It allows you to annotate audio that you hear, and so forth. But it is not so flexible to allow you to translate one mode of representation into another. So unless you create an app that you house within iTunes U that allows you to have interactivity, iTunes U is nothing but some sort of a bookstore. So it just collects these resources for you. What's powerful about it is that it's shareable. It allows comments, and people who subscribe to your course can actually contribute to the postings, for example. That's more or less, but the most powerful bit, I think, is because it's portable. So long as you've got an iOS device, a PC, or a Mac, you can view iTunes U with some limitations on a PC, for example. And it is almost ubiquitous. A lot of people have at least one device that has access to iTunes U. So as long as you've got iTunes installed on your PC, it should be fine. So that's where I was at. I want to share at this point, before going in to look at what the course looks like, is what are some of my learning points. Now you see, as of today, 193 people have already subscribed onto this course. This course is a first-year course at NIE for geography. I only have 60 students in my class. I suspect there are a whole lot of other people who are not my students who are on the course. So I am really careful what I put there. Some of the things that we did in a hurry was because I have a lot of these pictures that I use on my slides. I had to do a lot of doctoring to ensure that the material is original and it's not plagiarized, it's not like copied from others. So I have to redraw sometimes the globe, I have to redraw maps, but those things really were part and parcel of developing any course material anyway. First learning point, iOS is not that popular. I had my student coming up, arms up in protest immediately when I made the announcement, say, I hate Apple. Do you have a PC option? So guess what? I took all the materials and put them in an HTML file and posted it on the website. because the person simply refused to use it on iTunes U. That's one learning point. So I learned that there's a diversity of needs, culture, religion, gender, and therefore, as educators, perhaps by fixing one particular mode of platform, it might not be very fair or sensitive to the needs of our learners. So one learning point for me. Number two, the tool is only as good as its content. In putting the material together, which is a unit on learning about global atmospheric circulation, I realized that what's important is the meat, the substance, and that's probably what all of us think about when we develop materials, as well as the pedagogy. Now, this is where I failed terribly, I must admit. I didn't want this to be an electronic manifestation of a book. That means to say it becomes a page turner. I really didn't want that. So I have embedded within that series of course material activities. For example, they're supposed to read an iBook and from there select materials that are relevant to understanding global circulation and to discuss that. But of course, you can imagine how many people would discuss. So that's one problem. I didn't do that well. I didn't think about how to get people to collaborate well, to work in groups, for example, to give them tasks. Perhaps, to be very honest, this was developed over 2 weeks, and perhaps that's the main reason why I didn't think through that. And so my conclusion really is that I need to think more. I need to spend more time. And that's one of the key learning points that I have. So, without further ado, I'm going to jump into the iTunes U course that I've created and go through it and tell you a little bit more about the learning points I have. But if you need to, my email address is there for you, but you can also find my name on Outlook.